Alrighty, so this next demonstration we are going to take a look at jailbreaking the iPhone 3G and version 3 of the OS. As you can see, I've gone to the iPhoneHacks.com website, and very self-explanatory. It's giving you a rundown of the step-by-step process. And first thing you want to do is create a folder on your desktop named Pornage. Then you want to download the Red Snow, and we'll place it in the Pornage folder that we just created. And then we want to download the latest firmware and also put that in that same folder. So we want to actually extract the Red Snow zip file, and that will actually give us the program executable. Then we're going to connect our iPhone 3G to computer and then launch iTunes. We will then select the iPhones from the list of devices displayed on the left, and we'll press the shift button on your computer and then click restore button on iTunes. So let's go ahead and look at the actual process. So there's our actual files that we need. Just taking a closer look at that step once again, we want to make sure we don't get this wrong. So once we've actually connected it to the computer, we've launched iTunes. As you can see, there we have iTunes. And next in the iTunes, we'll select the iPhone from the list of devices, press the shift button on your computer, and then click restore. So we'll go along and we'll right click, shift, and as you can see, restore from backup. So we've got to specify the iPhone name, and at this point, if we go back to the directions, you will see restore is preferred as it won't create any wasted space on your iPhone. And you can then of course select restore, and then you can actually navigate to the Pornage folder where we want to actually select the correct firmware we've just downloaded. Once iTunes has finished updating the iPhone to the desired firmware, we'll then launch the Red Snow XE from the Pornage folder on the desktop. So once that actually launches, the Red Snow that is, click the browse button and then select the firmware IPSW, again we placed in the Pornage folder on the desktop. So we'll go along to iTunes, and that's the correct name. But if we click on restore, at that point it's automatically going to restore from backup, which is the one we've literally recently just taken. So we want to, again, once that's finished, we will then do the restore, and we want to actually wait for this to complete, because if it doesn't, of course, then you could have a phone that's not in working condition. So trying that again, this time holding the shift key down and clicking on the restore button there, not right clicking on your actual devices. So shift and then click on restore. That will enable us to go and search for the actual Pornage folder, and that's the restore file that we want to use. It's going to extract the software and it will restore with that software. So as you can see, we are pretty much at this step right now. So once we've finished restoring, we'll then navigate to the Pornage folder, and then we'll click on the open button to continue. So once iTunes have finished updating your iPhone to the desired firmware, that's when we can launch the Red Snow from that Pornage folder on the actual desktop. And so we'll just wait for us to get to this point. So as you can see, this is now going through preparing the iPhone for the restore. Takes a little bit longer, but we'll give it a few more minutes. So as you can see, it's busy restoring the iPhone firmware now. So again, this may take a bit of time, so you want to make sure you've at least dedicated about 2 hours to this, just in case something may go wrong. You never know. Remember, the risk though, folks, is if something does go wrong, this is done under your own control and you are taking the risks. So after the restore, it's going to come back and actually access your iTunes. And at this point, we are going to go along and we are going to launch Red Snow. select run, and we'll browse. Double click on that, and it says it's successfully been identified. That is the IPSW, and it's going to go ahead and patch the kernel. And as you can see, it's now pretty much next ready to do the install of Cydia. Select next, and please make sure your device is both off and plugged into the computer. So if it's not off, plug the device into the computer first, then hold down the power button on the edge until the phone powers off. Alrighty, and as you can see, click next only when your device is both off and plugged in. So hold down the power, the corner button for 1 second. This is pretty important. And then next you got to release the power button. And if you miss this step like I just have, you're going to have to recycle through this process. So we'll give it another 16 seconds. And as I said, if you miss it, this is pretty much the error message you'll get. So we'll select OK. We're going to go through that and turn it off again. Even though you might get that error message, depends on if it actually did connect your phone and then shut it down again, basically placing it into the mode that will allow it to be jailbroken. So we'll wait for this to finish, and basically, as you can see, it says done. But before we actually click on finish, let's go and double check those instructions. So we've basically gone through step 11, 12, gone through this step as well. And at this point, waiting for the reboot. Done. So please don't forget it tells how it goes. And this looks, so you would then click the finish button, and you can then go along and install some of those other applications. And so I wanted just to reiterate and come back to you and just let you know that that was a successful jailbreak on my phone, and pretty straightforward. As you've seen, this was going through the Windows process. The next demonstration will be going through the 3GS on an Apple Mac. And a couple of reminders, folks, just always keep yourselves updated, because some of these steps do change based upon perhaps updated firmware, newer models, and beyond that, remember, this is all for part of being able to use your own custom applications. And naturally, in the security world, we can utilize this device for a launch pad for the various attacks that we may want to use in an authorized environment where you need to perhaps emulate and test company security based upon what types of attacks they may be prone to. So this is a very real threat. These devices are running much faster processes than ever before. Hope you've enjoyed this one. We'll be back with more.